Hi, welcome. So I'm Emily, Father Raised Shane. I'm a cosmic seer, shaman, and I channel for the collective energy. And these are all things through birth. So I was born with it. And in fact, I resisted it for a long time. So yeah, so what the topics that came through this weekend that I wanted to talk about, and by the way, I'm located right by the doors over there to offer readings today. And side note, I'm also going to be offering, it's called the Golden Light Empowerment Program. So people on their journey wanting to get more connected and empowered in their light, which is kind of piggybacking what I'm talking about right now. To live your highest timeline, to live your dreams is what my mission is, and basically to tune into the heart and feel universal love. So that's basically my mission on the planet here, and that's what I'm here to teach. And so I'm a sovereign soul empowerment guide is kind of what I'm encapsulated under now. So anyways, there's a little bit about me. So living your highest timeline. So yesterday I did a talk also, and what I did is how to raise your frequency in order to step into your dreams. So I'm going to kind of add to that. Even if you weren't there yesterday, it doesn't matter, it's okay. So does anyone even know what I mean by highest timeline? Does anyone know what that means? So what a timeline is basically everything comes down to choice. So even as a seer, okay, I can tell you all kinds of stuff. Like we have destiny, we have an original soul blueprint that we're born with. Everything is locked within our DNA, okay? From our ancestors from all time, and the reason that we came here now. And so pretty much we're here to unlock it. Okay, so we're here to awaken with and hold more light in the body. And as we hold more light in the body, we're able to get clear vision and go into the quantum space. Has anyone heard of the quantum space? Or the fifth dimension, all these fun terms. So the fifth dimension, or the quantum space, basically is back to the love frequency of God, where everything exists. There is no time, actually. Everything, there is no space. We are the space. So it's similar kind of to, if you've heard of like the Akashic records, where you can access like the records of all your soul's time, that kind of thing. So a timeline is basically based on your choices. So even if we have a destiny, like a seer, like I'll tell you, by October, by da-da-da, like, and it's pretty accurate usually, but it's also based on your choice. So it can be delayed, it can change also, okay? So we can resist our journey, we can sabotage our path. So I always have this feeling in me that it doesn't matter, like I can't ruin it, it's my destiny. Oh yeah, let's get sidetracked, let's go over on this road for 2 years. So you absolutely can prolong it and cause a lot more suffering. And we're actually not on the planet to suffer. Who would have thought? We're on this earthly plane, the third dimension, we're the only planet, like all the galaxies, that actually feel pain and suffering. We're the only ones in the human body that feel anything, or feel like everything else besides love, like pain, like all of those, grief, anger, resentment. So all the other beings, everything else outside of this planet only feels like love, unless they're part of the fallen dark ones that are running the dark agenda on this planet right now. However, they're feeding on our light. So what we're doing right now is waking up to the fact that we were all created from the same spark, from the same light, sound, it's a frequency. And we are all God's creation, like a projection of God, each one of us. So each one of us, we're born for a damn good reason. And with very unique abilities and gifts that no one else has. So there could be a ton of psychics and seers, there can be a ton of artists, but no one is the same. And even with multiple lifetimes, you come back with, I don't know if you guys know, so ancestors are ancestors, and I do a lot of work with healing ancestral trauma. So all of this stuff is included in getting to your highest vibration and your highest timeline. So when your mother carries you in the womb, you have a part, you're shaking your head. So you have actually a part of her skin, like you're built from your mother's skin and blood and everything, and she was built from her mother. So technically, like every cell is every ancestor of all time walking in one body. So you're walking with all those gifts, all of that knowledge, like that wisdom and energy from all of those lifetimes. And power, like after we're born, we go into this world, like we feel like we're kind of powerless beings. We don't actually realize the power that we have. And so this is part of the awakening. What I want to kind of relay to you is that when you take your power back, which is merely by being present, okay? And I know it's extremely hard just to say, like, to come back to love and gratitude, right? It takes a lot of hell of work to do that, as well as energetically, when you have a lot of trauma, when you have a lot of blocks, you can't feel it even if you will it. You can't will it. You can't will to feel that. Like, I dealt with chronic illness for 20 years. I didn't feel anything in my body but apathy, sadness, anger. I couldn't feel it. Like, I could love my dog, I think, was the only real love that I felt. But I couldn't feel good things in my body. I was completely shut off. I was completely locked in my head, in my mind. So, some of the things I touched on yesterday too is, like, if you've heard of the Matrix, we're trapped in the Matrix, right? And the Matrix is the mind, actually. So that's the programs running, the trauma running from all the ancestors, unfortunately. But fortunately, when you're born and you're here today, that means that you're actually probably the one in the family that's here to cut all those ties and heal all that karma as well as trauma. So all of those things, like, how can we see clearly? Basically in that state full of, like, all of that stuff, we're not holding a lot of light, and we're not really, say, conscious of a lot of things. So, like, as we wake up, so how I can describe it is, if you don't know why you're here, what you're meant to do, or like things are happening in your life, whatever, and you want better for yourself, or you want to move forward, or whatever it is, it's like the pixels haven't been clear, okay? It's like, you know, you can't see what is actually on the screen, it's just pixels. So the higher you raise your vibration, the more light you hold, all of a sudden the picture is like brilliant, you're clear, you're like, oh my God, this is who I am. Like, we're here to remember, because we came in with amnesia when we were born. We came in with amnesia. We didn't know. And then you have to remember as you go on. Like, that's the journey here of remembering who you are. Because we're put in a school system, we're told to do these things based on society. You're told that you can't be an artist, or you're not gonna make enough money, and you have to get married, and la la la. So that totally disconnects from who you are. So where we start is to remember who you are. And, like, how do you do that? And basically that's where starting to believe things that you cannot see, first of all, because in essence, I don't know, anyone follow or listen to Joe Dispenza? Okay, so you know that, so what does he say about matter? Do you know? Because we're all energy. So the body's like matter is like 0.0000001% matter. So technically this is all an illusion. This is all a hologram. The physical body is like literally nothing. Really. But really that's where we're stuck, trapped in thinking this is that, like, that's all there is. Like, I'm actually blocked by the staple, I can't get any further. But it's an illusion. And so being energy beings, we have so much power. So once you realize, holy shit, everything's energy. But like I said, because of the disconnect from the time we're born, all the things we were told, all the trauma, all the frequencies, the radiation, the food, the junk, that we lose our connection to feeling. And we don't trust our intuition. And we're also told to just live in the logical brain. Be smart, live logical. Well, hello, we are not that. We are energy beings. So living your highest timeline is taking your present awareness back, owning your power, going into, like, sledging through the mud, going in hella healing, and letting go of the things that you thought, basically. It's like everything that you ever knew, it's having the courage to let that go. And being, what's the saying? It's like, rather someone who seeks knowledge. So someone who's like a seeker will always be open to new information. A believer, say if you're Christian, you cannot go outside of that, what that says. You are absolutely stuck. You're a believer. Okay, cool, you're a believer. Belief is everything. Okay, but is that belief serving you? Because you're not able to, like, kick that door open to, like, anything outside of there. So you're very limited, actually. So opening the doors to being a seeker. So I've been on this awakening for a long time. I was born awake. I went back to sleep. I had to try to function, but suffered greatly. Mental health, addiction, like I've done it all. Almost died 3 times. Like and I just knew that there was something more. Like there had to be. I was like, well, if I'm stuck here, you can't kill me. Well, it has to get better. So it was like this relentless pursuit to understand and get better, because what's the point then? I might as well die. Like I didn't want to be here, ever. Like I didn't want to be here. It's just like, this is madness. Nothing makes sense. The highest timeline you can live is, this is a journey of self-love. So the highest timeline you can live is in that love space, in that space of God. So we're here to self-realize. We're here to remember that we're God. And in connecting this with relationships is a big part of how we do that. So once you bring your awareness to your center and like look at your life and the relationships, your parents, who you're attracting, your friends. That's the easiest kind of information, like what the feedback is in your life. So how many people struggle with boundaries, having people that are somewhat abusive or toxic or whatever, or very draining, they complain, and that we have these people in our life, whether it be family, we feel like we can't disconnect. We have friends that are like, they could be an addiction, they could be very dramatic, or they could be very people-pleasing. Like we all have our things, right? That we were born into families, and we learn coping mechanisms on how to get our needs met as children, and then that's how we learn, and then we just continue to do that the rest of our life. So if my need is to be seen, so one of mine was that I'm a talker, clearly. And I would talk a lot and ask a lot of questions, and I didn't make sense to people. Felt like I was speaking Chinese, and I could just see from a different perspective, and it wasn't really like, I wasn't received, I wasn't heard, I wouldn't get feedback. So I had like narcissistic parent and kind of an oppressed, toxic positive, like I had the dual, my parents are lovely. They were just unconscious in their stuff. So they couldn't see me, they wouldn't receive me, so I talk more and I talk more and I talk more, and I would say the same thing 20 times over, and I wouldn't get feedback. So then it was like this, I'm not good enough, I can't, I'm not seen, right? So how do I get that need met? So I kept talking, or I would do other things of like, like in male relationships, say they would treat me like shit or abandon me, and then I would try to like love them more and like keep trying, but I'm a good person, like just, what do you mean? Like I'm great, I love you, I'll give you everything, and like I keep trying more, and in fact I was just continuing to exhibit those behaviors, and it all comes down to self-love. I couldn't see and love myself, I wasn't worthy enough. So no matter what your pattern is, right, where you suppress your needs to serve others first, right? So there's the 6 human needs. Now let me see if I can remember it all again. So there's connection. There is like purpose, like contributing. Connection, contribution. There's also like variety, okay, like changing it up. There is, and then there's the other one, which is like being consistent. Like safety. What are the other 2? Sorry, I didn't bring my notes, and I'm just kind of blank channeling right now. Anyway, so we have these needs, and primarily it's to feel safe, right? Primarily it's to feel safe, to feel seen. So anyway, so we have these human needs to feel valued, right? And so we learn how to meet those needs, and they can be in not the healthiest ways. So we can go to addictive patterns, right? We can be sexually promiscuous in our place of love, We can overeat when we're lonely, right? Because we don't have that connection. So there's all of those things. So, and you can look up, like Tony Robbins talks about this a lot too, the 6 human needs. And getting like those clear, if you can actually write those down, understand your needs, and like, okay, so, I lost a lot of friends this year. They're not making sense. I'm a little, like I'm alone. My job is changing, and now, I don't feel great because what am I contributing? So looking at those areas and then how you're actually feeling it. And then we have to change them into more of a healthy, like recognize what it is. If you don't know what it is, you don't know why you're doing it. And so beside that is my main thing is, so I was also a counselor. I was an addictions counselor, and I worked with abused women, and I talked a lot about mental health and addiction because it's not what they tell you at all. All those things are actually a multidimensional, multifaceted place of being. It's past lives, it's energy. It's not at all what they tell you. You're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not mentally ill, you don't need medication forever. This is not true. We live in multiple dimensions, there's so many things going on. It's usually like from trauma, actually, and that will cause that reaction, but then what they do is say that there's something wrong with you, and then you take on that identity that you're broken, right? Yeah, and then you're broken. And then that also takes your power, takes your worth, leaves you dependent on whatever that may be, whether it be medication, therapist, you can't work, like all those things. So how will you ever recover if you believe that about yourself?
You don't recover.
Correct, you don't. I was there. I was on this desktop, and it's like the first psychologist I talked to at 5. They thought I was too smart. I would battle my parents at 5. I would like argue them like a lawyer. I would fight, I would, and as a teenager, it was like they put me in, then they diagnosed me with all these lists of things. And really, I'm a seer. I do shamanic work. I see through things. I'm a highly sensitive. So I don't know if you know the indigo children. So I'm a violet ray, which is a different soul group beside that. But the indigo children. So I have all these extrasensory abilities. Well, how come I react more than everybody else to all these things? Doesn't make sense. So I was like shamed, different, pushed aside. So it's like once you remember who you are and actually own it. So it's taken me so long of being gaslit to finally step into my power and actually believe my own intuition and actually believe what I see in living. So regarding how they cause us to divide within ourselves, right? They cause a divide within ourselves so that we're not in our power. And so alongside understanding your needs, what kind of society has placed you in, that none of it is your fault and nothing is what they told you. So, and calling your power back, which is gaining your presence, learning these things, starting to believe your feelings. Like when you get a feeling, this is how you reestablish the connection with your intuition too. When you get a feeling, even if it makes 0 sense at all, if it's like drive left, you're like, but Google says right. You're like, do it, okay? Drive left. Because there's maybe some store or something that you need that's going to show you. And then you reestablish that connection with yourself little by little every time you listen. So I know I'm jumping all around. I hope I'm making sense with regarding relationships, needs. And the other aspect, though, I do want to get into is about your values. So usually you take on your parents' values or they're forced on you, right? So, and you're like, yes, but I must, stay in this marriage because I'm loyal. And, commitment is number 1. And, I'm going to suffer the rest of my life because this value means more to me. But it's like you don't even recognize that. You don't even know why you're doing it and that you're going to spend the next 30 years suffering, unhappy, never doing anything that you've ever wanted, ever, thinking that's what's more important. So if you reevaluate your values and look at the top values, these values basically dictate every decision you make and every behavior you make. So that's how you slowly get to know yourself, because that's what I mean, remembering who you are. We have to get to know ourselves. And if you've heard also, you can only meet someone as deep as they've met themselves. So we're running in a world with a lot of unconscious people. So what they do is they project. So they're constantly projecting their shit onto you. And then we take it on and own it like it's our identity and like it's the truth. And really it's how they feel about themselves and their unmet needs, right? And then so we're so confused and cannot, and again, lose that connection. And so, this world is really challenging to navigate, to be healthy, to feel love and joy all the time, not in a fake way, like, I'm gonna pretend to be happy because that's what they say, and that's what's spiritual, and light and love. And that's not what it's about. Okay, so it's actually going into these places of darkness, the places that you can't see, parts of yourself that you can't see, and then shining a light on it, basically, and then giving it love. So, example, I had this point where all of a sudden I got all the abuse. I suffered a lot of abuse. And all of a sudden I came to where this anger. I opened enough. I was doing breath work. I was doing mushrooms. I was doing all this stuff. I was really trying to heal. I was dealing with CPTSD, pretty severe. And I was trying to get back in my body, because we leave our body, or we're trapped in the mind, in the matrix, in these programs and these beliefs. So actually we're trying to get in the body as much as we can and own the body. And every single person is also comparing to society is the worst thing you could ever do. What is a beautiful body What is a beautiful face? What is smart? What is like, all of it is like just, like there's not just 6 boxes that like 7 billion people fit into. That's ridiculous. Okay? So you can't compare, because when you compare, you're causing suffering, period. Because like, why is my path have anything to do with you? Like in regards to like where I'm at or where you're at. Like, what is that? Like if 2 people are bowling and I like throw my ball down, you throw your ball down, like, are they racing? Are the bowling balls racing down to hit those pins? Like, I don't get it, right? It's like so crazy that we've been programmed to see all of these things, and if you're not that, then you're not worthy. And basically we're born with religions. Basically you're born like a sinner, right? In the Western religions, you're born a sinner. So you're only born in shame, right? You have to repent for being born. Now, the more like Eastern way, it's like, I studied a lot of the different religions, mind you, and the, say Hindu, it's like children are just bowed down because they're the closest to God. They just came from source, so it's like, oh my God, we don't like scream at them, yell at them, like make them sit in a chair all day long. Like, who can do that as a kid? Man, you got bursts of energy. Just because we get older, we lose our energy because we get drained. So, thank you. So, everything being energy, how we do this is you reflect on all these little tidbits. I know I gave you a lot of information, but just like so that you can investigate further those kind of streams of thought, if you feel called to. But that we're all energy, and that the logic and all of those limitations that we're told, they come in forms of not just like physical, because I know I can do, the body does obviously have some limitations, but you can also have miraculous healing. Why? Because we're made of energy. Why? Because it comes to the power of belief. How are people miraculously cured? I was cured of 20 years of chronic illness, miraculously. I had a Kundalini awakening, I had tall Arcturian beings show up, full on. And it's like, it comes down to energy and your belief, and where you put your awareness and your conscious presence, you can totally change your reality. You can totally step into your dream. But first, you'll remember who you are. You'll have access to the dream of why you're here. You think it's crazy now, you don't have the money, you don't have the shit. That's a lie. All of it is a lie. As soon as you tune into this energy of belief, which is in the heart space, which is love, which is gratitude, like all the hell that I've lived, so damn grateful. But you have to like obviously go through it to finally get to the gratitude, okay? It takes a while. But to see that everything you're experiencing is a gift. You're here in a school, and it's hard, and it's challenging, and you go through awful things, but those awful things are actually your tools, are also your lessons in order to step into this dream that you came here and that you were born with. And so how we can step back into the dream that we had as a kid is to call your power back with this presence, do this kind of work, right? Get into this and get back to love yourself, that, oh my God, you're a fragment of God. Because when we deny ourselves, shame ourselves, like don't care for us, you're basically denying God, right? Just like think about that for a second. You're saying you did a shitty job with this one. Like, no, you didn't do a very good job. Like what? Of course not. You're perfect. You're born perfect. And the things that are within you to awaken, it's just finally having that trust, that faith, like letting everything else go, that I don't want suffering anymore, and stepping into your power of being like, I'm an energy being, and I believe that I'm gonna be here, and it doesn't matter what anyone around me says, it doesn't matter what the bank say, it doesn't matter, like even if I can't walk, say, I'm gonna find a way. Like no matter physical limitations, you're gonna find a way if you believe. So meeting your needs, understanding your values, and changing your mind. And I know you can't, mantras don't just work, okay? Like hypnosis, okay, like I did it all. You can't just change the programs instantaneously. It's not possible. Not just are they mental programs, but they're also stored in the body. So you have to do the mind work, but also the body release. There's a lot to it. It's a big journey. But the biggest thing you can do is decide. And that's what I can leave you with. It comes down to a decision. It's a choice. Make a choice today that I'm gonna try to show up the best I can, as many moments as I can, for myself, for this life. I'm gonna do my best and just keep coming back to that. So when you make a decision, that's when you start to move forward. That's when you can start to heal. These things will come in. You'll start to remember. You'll have new people. You'll have new experiences. And it comes down to that decision. And it's like, wow, I can choose what I want? Yeah, you're the maker of the reality. All of your realities are different than the rest. Your perceptions are based on what your beliefs are, what programs are running. So you have so much power. So yes, I'll just leave you with that. It comes down to making a choice. If you want better for yourself, if you want to feel love, and say if you can't believe it now, say I want to believe it and I'm open to believing it, and then watch things start to unravel to finally come to be. And that's how you will access the highest timeline to live your dream, is purely by making a decision, and then watch it, and then believe it as it starts to show you exactly what's meant for you, and always has been. Because the future is now. It's not there, right? The past, yes, it had the stories. We can let go of it, still walking with me the past, but it's like we're a brand new person physically every 7 years, first of all, right? And your whole body, right, regenerates in 7 years. But there is no, so if you bring the future now, like I already have everything I need, you know, even if there's no money in the bank, I'm sleeping on the street, that's okay. I have everything I need. I know that I do. And it's just literally, no matter your, I guess, not religion, but no matter your connection with Source, Universe, Jesus. I work with Jesus a lot. I work with Mother Mary, but I'm not Christian. Like, it's like, the religion is kind of like frameworky, right? But I have a lot of deities, I have a lot of, star beings and aliens. I work with a lot of guides and angels. But in essence, the whole point is that I'm not afraid. Why? Because I am God. Why? Because no matter what happens, I'll return. And so I'm here to be the light. And so if you realize you were born perfect, you are the light. Just make a decision to say, I am that. Okay.